a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
Remember that? Yeah, the year was 2012, and President Obama threw a shade on Governor Romney when he suggested Russia as a geopolitical threat. Now fast forward to today, and we're now into our second day of Russian airstrikes in Syria on U.S.-backed Syrian rebels. And that's where we begin today's roundtable. Joining us live today, Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and co-host of the Daily Wrap, seen right here on Newsmax TV, Rick Ungar. Thank you both for joining us once again. Always good to have you.
Pleasure.
Always good to be here.
Last night on Hardline, Senator John McCain said this. Take a listen.
It's because of the weakness and feckless foreign policy of the President of the United States. This didn't happen by accident nor immediately.
Ford, so you heard the comment of the video that we had of the exchange between Romney and Obama back in 2012. McCain saying this. I want to get your thoughts on this. Could have Obama prevented this with a stronger foreign policy position?
Absolutely, because you have to understand something. Vladimir Putin is a bully, and all he understands is action. So John McCain is spot on, my former boss. It's frightening and dangerous. And President Obama's problem is he thought if we withdrew from the world scene, guess what? The international coalition would fix itself. The problem is even worse actors like Russia and China have now spread up. And Russia's basically going to carve out the Middle East, and then they're going to control it to their client states.
Sorry about that, Rick. Now to you. What do you think of Senator McCain's comments? Do they hold any weight? Is Obama's foreign policy just unraveling?
You know, it's really a complicated thing. I listened to the entirety of what the senator had to say last night. There were certain points that he made that I agreed with, and I have certain issues with President Obama's foreign policy. The problem is as Ford just said, you know, Putin's a bully. Yeah, he may be a bully, but it's just not that simple. He's no dummy, and he knows exactly what it's doing, and it's a pretty calculated strategy. On the other hand, you know, you start to run into some serious problems. McCain was beaten up on Obama for the whole red line thing, but what he doesn't continue to say is, had Obama followed through on that and we had taken out Assad, yeah, we'd be in a different position today. We probably wouldn't have Russia necessarily going to Assad's aid. It would have been too late. He'd be gone. But you know what? We'd have a vacuum in Syria that would have needed to be filled. And I think we all would agree. I know conservative foreign policy strategists agree that you'd be looking at ISIS sitting in that position.
But Rick, this didn't start with Syria, though. This started with Ukraine. This started with lots of other things. Putin is very wise. He knows that if he goes unchecked. And the other problem we have here, Rick, it's not just us and Russia. It's one thing for Russia to humiliate us. It's another thing for everyone on the world stage to see it. And now you know the North Koreans want to tear up some of their nuclear agreements with us. This is a problem that's going to take 3 decades to fix unless we come up with a credible solution very shortly.
Obama's not going to be in office that long. So
yeah, and let me just respond. I'm going to stay a little more focused because when you go all over the world, it doesn't really get much to policy. The real issue here, and again, I think most conservatives I've talked to today agree, Putin has taken a big gamble here. It might very well work out to his benefit. If he can pull off what he's trying to pull off, he will get a major seat at the table, which Russia hasn't had since the early 70s in the Middle East. If he doesn't pull it off, and I would caution everybody to remember the kind of fighting forces you're looking at in the Middle East, where wars for them last thousands of years, not a couple of years. Also keep in mind that Putin's treasury probably gets him through this for about 3 years. He leads a country that is dead broke right now. This is a complicated thing.
I just don't agree with you. I don't think this is as big a gamble for Putin as you say it is. Look, understand something. Russia exports
I certainly
two
hate
things.
to be...
Go ahead, Ford.
Look, Russia exports 2 things, oil, gas, and weapons, okay? They want to set up a client state throughout the Middle East. They want to carve it out. And remember, after this is over and these governments like Assad have taken over, now you're actually giving weapons to the countries that are actually funding international terrorism. I think this is a win-win. Well, he sees himself as Peter the Great, and he wants to recarve the world map. And I think that Putin is brilliant.
There's a problem with what you... There's a problem we need to point out for the viewers with what you just said. He can view the Middle East as a client state when it comes to guns. But I got to tell you, they've already been a client state. He didn't have to make this move to do that. He was not looking to the Middle East to become a client state on oil. He's looking to become the representative of all that oil for the same reason he wants the Arctic.
He wants to control all of that oil. Look, I agree with you. What I'm talking about is the weapons.
I think that's very clear.
We only have about 45 seconds left, and I want to touch on somebody else who could be a potential leader of our country, because everybody keeps saying that this could go on for years and Obama won't be in office years from now. But Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is hoping to do that. And he actually talked about Putin and Putin's involvement in Syria and the O'Reilly factor. Let's listen, if we can, to his comments real quick, and we'll get your reaction coming after the commercial break.
I'm looking at Assad and saying maybe he's better than the kind of people that we're supposed to be backing. I say there's very little downside with Putin fighting ISIS. And
once Putin gets in and fights ISIS on behalf of Assad, Putin runs Syria. He owns it. He'll never get out. Never.
All right. OK, fine.
We only have a few seconds left. Ford, in a word. Was this a wise move on Trump's part, or does this make him look weak on foreign policy?
Absolutely not. He needs some foreign policy advisors and needs to stop watching the news for his foreign policy and military affairs.
Rick, you?
Well, he also said, I don't know if I heard it in that he says, let the Russians fight ISIS. Makes them look pretty stupid when they start bombing people and they aren't ISIS.
We'll have to leave it there. Much more to come with our roundtable next. You're watching Newsmax Now. And returning for part two of our roundtable, Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and co-host of the Daily Wrap, coming up right after Newsmax Now, Rick Ungar. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We want to switch gears now and talk about Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who's considered to be a top candidate to replace Speaker Boehner. He may have dug himself in a little bit of a hole after making this comment. Take a listen.
Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee. A select committee. What are her numbers today? Her numbers are dropping. Why? Because she's untrustable. But no one would have known any of that had happened had we not fought and made that happen. Good.
All right, Rick, starting with you. How much damage did McCarthy do? Are you okay there, Ford? How much damage did McCarthy do to himself, or the Republican Party for that matter, with that very comment?
Well, I guess it remains to be seen how much damage he did to himself. Look, we all know what a gaffe is. It's when a politician tells the truth when he's not supposed to talk about it. What he said comes as a shock, I would think, to absolutely no one. I think that what's the story is that he actually said it. Good for him for being honest. But I'll tell you what. I don't know what the result's going to be. Look, today you had Democratic senators sending a note asking that the panel be shut down, the investigation, now that we know what it was really for. I don't think that's going to happen. So the Benghazi committee will go on. McCarthy may or may not be able to overcome the egg he put firmly on his face.
Ford, I saw the expression on your face. I'm not sure if you were getting a headache there or if you were just in deep thought, but do you think this backlash will blow over?
My head exploded when I heard Kevin McCarthy say this, okay? The Benghazi Select Committee is about getting at the truth, not destroying Hillary Clinton for the 2016 presidential election, because she can do that all on her own. Now, can we overcome this? Absolutely, but I know this. The Democrats want to change the narrative off of Hillary Clinton, and now is the time for that fake outrage, and because they dominate the mainstream media, my guys have to work doubly hard to get the ship back to normal.
Well, former Secretary of State...
I will say this. Let me quickly say this. I was laughing my you-know-what off when I saw Hillary talk about how distressing this was. Well, this was her Christmas present, her birthday present, her New Year's present.
All wrapped into one, wasn't it, Rick? Well, here is Hillary Clinton discussing McCarthy's remarks on MSNBC so you can get the full effect. This is where she said the comments show unequivocally that the Benghazi Select Committee was always meant to be a partisan political exercise. Ford, if you were advising McCarthy right now, what would you be telling him?
Here's the deal. You have a fantastic political brain. You almost think like Machiavelli, and I'm excited for you to be Speaker, but find someone else to speak on your behalf. You're not the best with the tongue, and frankly, you may get yourself in a lot of trouble, not to mention the Republican Party.
Rick, is this going to help Clinton in any way get those numbers back up?
What I'd be telling McCarthy is that the weather's really good in Northern California this time of year. He might want to go visit his district.
Ah, touche.
He's only 70 miles north of Los Angeles.
I know.
All right, we're going to really switch gears now for something that some may call crazy scary. Halloween is about 30 days away from now, but Kansas, my home state, appears to be wasting no time. Usually we would save this for a real versus fake segment, but this is just way too good to pass up, guys. Governor Sam Brownback signed a proclamation yesterday officially making the month of October Zombie Preparedness Month. This proclamation is supposed to be a fun way to get Kansas ready for natural disasters like zombies, of course. Rick, a little over the top?
You know, it's interesting. If it was almost any other governor, you would just assume that he's got a good sense of humor. And it's funny, because it's Sam Brownback and some of the bizarre things he's done over the years, I don't know if he's serious or not.
Ford, what's your take?
I think this is a brilliant gimmick, frankly, because most people, you want to know what? They're not in tune to things, and frankly, people have to be ready, particularly in Kansas, where you could have tornadoes. The bottom line is this is smart, and frankly, a lot of people are just frankly unaware, is we're going to see real soon in Washington, D.C. if we get a hurricane.
All right, just because it's the two of you.
But zombies?
For our roundtable, we have prepared a little something special. Maybe you won't be preparing for actual zombies anytime soon, but we should be probably preparing for you. Can you guys see this? Our graphics department had a little help with our producer, Christina, wanted to give our viewers a sneak peek at your Halloween costumes this year. Of course, this is all in celebration of Zombie Preparedness Month, and I'm shaking in my boots right now, guys. Pretty frightening. You guys are going to have to check.
Well, it's Halloween, right?
I have no
we had it all figured out for you. Christina's got you covered. We'll send it to you guys, promise. Rick, Ford, thank you so much for joining us during the roundtable. Always good to have you.
Pleasure.